Welcome to Politics for Patriots. Here's your host, the eviscerator of progressive nonsense, the executioner of imbecility, and the grim reaper of BS, Eddie Zipper.
Welcome to episode number 71 of the Politics for Patriots podcast. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the show on iTunes, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, Democrats and the mainstream media, for 2 years, Trump colluded with Russia. Every front page in America this week, no collusion. The collusion illusion turned out to be delusion. And now Democrats and the mainstream media are moving on to new lies and new smears. Listen for the talking all week long. Listen for the talking point. Oh, this summary came from Trump's hand-picked attorney general. That's what they're all saying now. You can't believe William Barr because he's Trump's hand-picked attorney general. Meanwhile, and they ignore this, being hand-picked by the president is literally the only constitutional path to becoming attorney general. That's the only way you can even become Attorney General of the United States, is to be chosen or hand-picked by the president. Everyone take out your Constitution and turn to Article 2. He shall nominate, and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States. Edmund Randolph was George Washington's hand-picked attorney general. And every attorney general after Edmund Randolph, hand-picked by the president. Was Loretta Lynch or Eric Holder, were they ever once referred to as Obama's hand-picked attorney general? Ever? Did that happen one single time? No! That is a ridiculous, dumb attack. I've been very critical of Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder in the past. Never once have I packaged that criticism as, oh, look what Obama's hand-picked attorney general did. Because I understand that that is the only place that attorneys general come from. I mean, I feel like Chris Rock, right? That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. It's like saying, oh yeah, of course that law was biased. You know who wrote that law? Congress. That's what you're supposed to do. That's who does that. That's what's in the Constitution. If Barr wasn't handpicked by Trump, he is not constitutionally eligible to be Attorney General. So Democrats, please, stop referring to Barr as Trump's hand-picked attorney general.
You sound like a damn fool.
All right, today's show is about Democratic Party narratives, which of course become mainstream media narratives as well. If you tell a true story, and I'm not talking about the Democrats here because they don't tell true stories, okay? They are fiction writers all day long. But if you tell a true story, that story is going to age like a fine wine stored in a temperature-controlled cellar. Democratic Party narratives, on the other hand, age like a fine milk stored in a sauna. And the reason that happens, and this is so weird, it's going to blow your mind. The reason that happens is because truth is no longer a value held by people on the left. You can tell just by the way that they talk about truth. That is no longer a value that they hold, which seems impossible to imagine to a normal person who values the truth very highly. A normal person considers truth a fundamental value. You can just tell by the way that they talk about truth that they no longer hold it as a value. There are lots of other reasons that you know, but this is just a tiny thing. You'll always hear them use his truth, her truth, my truth. Well, I told my truth. This is a weird little platitude that they use all the time. There's no such thing as that. What are you talking about? When they were attacking Brett Kavanaugh during his confirmation hearings, this was a non-stop talking point. You go search Twitter for the words Blasey Ford and her truth, and you'll just see it everywhere from Democrats. I'm just going to show you one because I don't have all day to talk about this one little point. But here's Senator Mazie Hirono using it.
I think that's something that Dr. Ford has to decide. Her life has been totally upended as it is. She gave a very credible, believable testimony. She shared her truth with us.
That is not how truth works. It's not relative from one person to another. All right, there's no his truth or her truth or my truth. There is, in fact, only truth. Okay, it is not relative from one person to another. That is completely anathema to how truth works. That's how perspective works. That's how opinion works. But that is not how truth works. Anyone who would treat truth that way obviously has little regard for truth. And the left does not care about truth. It is simply no longer a value that they hold, if it was ever a value that they held. So the way it ends up working is that I have my truth, which is always the truth. If I believe something to be true and it's not, and then I'm given evidence that it's not true, really strong evidence that proves it, then I quickly change my position. Okay, I no longer believe that thing anymore because I believe in truth. So I have my truth, which is the truth, and they have their truth, which is whatever nonsense they just made up to advance their leftist agenda. Or as President Trump so eloquently put it Thursday night,
ridiculous bullshit.
All right, so my truth is the truth, and the left's truth is
ridiculous bullshit.
I think the values of the left when it comes to truth are perfectly summed up by a quote from the movie Miracle on 34th Street. You remember the part when Santa Claus's lawyer says, "What's worse, a lie that draws a smile or a truth that draws a tear?" Well, when you're talking about Santa Claus, the answer is probably the lie. When you are talking about whether or not the President of the United States is secretly a Russian asset doing the bidding of Vladimir Putin, I'd say the truth. The truth is better, even if it brings a tear to the eyes of liberals who want President Trump to be a secret Russian agent. But the left wants the lie. They want the smile. And that is causing the Democratic Party and the mainstream media to absolutely destroy their individual brands. First example. This is a small one, net neutrality repeal. You remember CNN headline? The end of the internet as we know it. Okay? When it was repealed, it was literally 5 years old. Like literally season 1 of Game of Thrones, older than net neutrality. But no. CNN says it's the end of the internet as we know it. If you are about to start kindergarten, you have not known any other internet in your lifetime. Literally, Gangnam Style is older than net neutrality. If you don't know what Gangnam Style is, good. You're probably a pretty smart person. I commend you and wish I could join you in not knowing. Alright, so when the FCC repealed net neutrality in 2017, this guy Julio Blue on Twitter tweeted that Twitter was going to cost $18 a month now. Snapchat's going to cost $10 a month. Google searches will be $2 each, etc. The tweet was full of dumb things like that. That's ridiculous. It shows absolutely zero understanding of economics whatsoever. That's not how free market works. Sorry. Google searches are never going to be $2 each because nobody would pay that to do a Google search. You would go somewhere else and search. Nobody's going to pay $2 to do a Google search. All right. That tweet from Julio Blue was retweeted 125,000 times. That's insane. This was like one of the most popular tweets ever. 125,000 retweets is a lot. So this month, I made fun of it. Right? It was old and I remembered it, so I went back and I made fun of it. I said every left-wing narrative is this tweet. Why? Because it's hyperbolic, it's designed to create fear, and it makes no sense whatsoever. Every left-wing narrative right there. But here's the interesting part. The guy responded to me, and here's what he said. I said, do you remember this tweet? And then I talked about every left-wing narrative is this stupid tweet. So he responds to me and he says, I remember getting over 10,000 letters sent in to prevent net neutrality vote. I also remember informing over 10 million people on WTF net neutrality is anyways. I also remember getting over 2,000 people protesting in 15 states across America. What a great tweet. Heart emoji. Everyone on the left thinks that ends justify means. The value they hold is advocacy. You tell people whatever you have to, and if they do what you wanted them to do, then it's a success. And it doesn't matter if what you said was true or if what you said was completely
ridiculous bullshit.
What it's about to the left is whether or not you got the result that you wanted. So this week, lots of folks are outraged because Jussie Smollett, you remember Jussie Smollett, don't you?
There was no address, but the return address said in big red, like caps, MAGA. Did I make that up too?
Yup! Obviously, Jussie is the perfect example of someone who believes that ends justify means, all kinds of means, created a phony crime. But that's okay because his end, even though his means were very, very naughty, his end was to humiliate President Trump and all of his supporters. And keep an eye out for people who think that that's okay, because there are lots of them. Because to leftists, that's okay as long as the smear is successful. It's not about whether something is true or false. That's completely irrelevant. It's about whether or not you get the end result that you want. So this week, lots of folks are outraged because Jussie Smollett created a fake crime in order to attempt to smear President Trump and all of his supporters. Guess who else did that? The Democrats and the mainstream media. That's right. They're just Jussie Smollett with more resources and influence. Right? Let's talk about the Trump-Russia hoax. The Clinton campaign and the DNC paid Fusion GPS through a law firm. Fusion GPS contracted with Christopher Steele to dig up dirt on President Trump. Now, in free market economics, what happens when a client hires your business and pays your business a truckload of money to dig up dirt on someone? You find dirt. It's pretty simple. If there's real dirt out there, you go and you get it. If there's not, what do you think happens? You think the company just says, oh, sorry, that guy's clean. Oh, throw the truck in reverse. All right, boys, send that money back to the Clintons. It's all going back. No, they don't send that truckload of money back to the Clintons. They've come up with some dirt. Make it up if you have to. Who cares? And that's all fine as long as the FBI's not going to use it like it's real evidence and real intelligence. Okay, then make up dirt. There are sources who will tell you what you want to hear no matter what. You just have to find them. Or just make them up. Or find a guy who knows a guy who talked to a guy whose cousin knows everything that goes on. Because when information travels from source to source, it spoils very fast. The less direct the information is, the less valuable The information is.
My best friend's sister's boyfriend's brother's girlfriend heard from this guy who knows this kid is going with the girl who saw Ferris pass out at 31 Flavors last night.
That's exactly what the Steele dossier is right there. It's Christy Swanson telling Ben Stein why Ferris Bueller isn't in class.
My best friend's sister's boyfriend's brother's girlfriend heard from this guy who knows this kid is going with the girl who saw Ferris pass out at 31 Flavors last night.
The media carried the message. It was just like the net neutrality tweet. A total lie, but hey, that's okay because it's the political ends that are valuable. It doesn't matter what happens to get you to those political ends. It doesn't matter how you get from point A to point B as long as you end up at point B. The ends justify the means on the left. Now, what political end do you think that they were hoping for? All you have to do is listen to the mainstream media coverage. They told you a million times. They said the word impeachment a million. Could Trump be impeached for this? Impeachment. When the Mueller report comes out, impeachment. They said, oh, handcuffs. Oh, it's a bombshell. Is it going to be a bombshell? The end is to harm the Trump presidency. So the left is all about the ends justifying the means. 1 second you have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying that in 12 years, it's the end of the world in 12 years. And then before you know it, you got a little girl protesting in Dianne Feinstein's office going,
some scientists have said that we have 12 years to turn this around.
So you scared the hell out of some little kids, but hey, that's what you wanted, was people protesting, just like the guy who sent the net neutrality tweet. The left needs you to lose your mind and abandon your judgment. But here's the really, really good news. This is not a sustainable business model for the Democratic Party or for the mainstream media. Most Americans actually value the truth. MSNBC, CNN, the Democratic Party, those are all brands. When you have a brand, there's a reason you don't tarnish it with blatant lies. Okay, there's a reason that McDonald's signature sandwich is called the Big Mac and not the Super McHealthy Diet Burger. If they called it the Super McHealthy Diet Burger, that would be a fantastic short-term marketing strategy. They could put a big poster up, Super McHealthy Diet Burger, 90 calories, and everyone will be pumped. There will be a line a mile long every day at lunchtime. Nobody has ever packed this much deliciousness into 90 calories before in the whole history of the world. God bless McDonald's. Long term, this is not that good a strategy. You know why? Because there are 3 types of customers. The smartest type never believed for a second that there was only 90 calories in that burger. But they tried to tell people, but nobody wanted to hear it because they wanted to eat good burgers for 90 calories. Okay, the second type is going to gain 20 pounds and then say, hey, they are lying to me, McDonald's. The third type is going to commit suicide by Big Mac because the poster says 90 calories and they want it to be true and they will not listen to reason. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, keep your eye on the evil geniuses at McDonald's because there are 2 things they'll be doing that you should notice. First, you can be damn sure they won't be eating 3 Big Macs a day. The other thing they're going to be doing, they're going to smear the people who know that they are lying. Yeah, this guy told me the Super McHealthy Diet Burger doesn't really have 90 calories. What's McDonald's going to say? F*** that guy. Burger King is paying him to say that. You're not going to let the Whopper lobby control what you eat, are you? That is not sustainable, especially when the truth keeps coming out. What happens? The Democrats have to jump to a new lie. They're never sure which lie to jump to right away. So right now, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax lie, that's like the Titanic lie, okay? And it hit the Mueller report iceberg, and it's sinking. The nose of it is still pointing out of the water. So now you have like 50 new lies that are like the little lifeboat lies with 10 people in them. But you have to pay very close attention to how the mainstream media lies, because so much of the way they lie, they can get away with. I saw Chris Cuomo on his stupid show challenging someone. Well, what fact did we get wrong? Name the fact that we got wrong. What did we get wrong? And the guest was struggling to name any fact that they got wrong. Now, if I had been on the show, I would have said, well, off the top of my head, 3 CNN editors lost their jobs for running with a fake story about Anthony Scaramucci colluding with the Russians. One of those people who lost their jobs was a Pulitzer-nominated journalist. One of the other ones was a Pulitzer Prize winner. But instead, the person on the show wasn't ready for it, and they sort of stumbled and deflected, if I remember correctly. But here's the real answer. The lie was that Trump colluded with Russia to win the 2016 election. The MSM, or the mainstream media, covered that lie without skepticism. Okay, so it's not that CNN is out there telling direct lie after direct lie. That's not how this works. Now, the media, during the whole Trump-Russia thing, they told maybe a dozen direct lies. All of them corrected eventually. All of them hugely embarrassing for the networks that told them. Okay, they have different ways of pushing forward the narrative without directly telling lies. Number one, anonymous sources. Anonymous source journalism is garbage. If you are anonymous, you can lie to advance your agenda without any repercussions. And many times, the sourcing is circular. They'll say, well, 8 anonymous sources close to the White House say X. And you go, oh, 8 people said it. It must be true. What they don't tell you is that 7 of those sources received the information indirectly because they were briefed by the first source, which is the only real source. And we are left not to be able to consider that one person and decide whether their version of the story is based on furthering an agenda because we don't know what their agenda might be because we don't know who the hell they are. Meanwhile, if the story that they told turns out to be a lie, it doesn't hurt the New York Times or the Washington Post or whoever published it because they never reported that X happened. They reported that a source close to the White House told them that that happened. And that remains true even if the story does not. The quality of journalism is circling the drain because the demand for content is so high. Back when you had to produce one newspaper full of content per day, you could put together well-sourced stories and work really hard on those stories. When you have to have new content all day long, every single day, your standards tank. Then what happens? Most people don't get the news from the New York Times or whoever first reported it. Okay, so you have the New York Times and they're reporting anonymous sources tell us, whatever. All right? But now you've got other people reporting on it. And now the story goes from anonymous sources close to the White House tell us X. The story goes from that to the New York Times is reporting that X happened. And then the most partisan sources report it as X happened. You lost the sourcing on it now when you jumped from outlet to outlet reporting on what other outlets were reporting on. Then the opinion pieces come. And the opinion pieces all say, here's why the X thing that happened is the end of democracy. And then the original sources report on the opinion pieces. And they have on 5 pundits. And they ask them, is the opinion writer correct that X happening is the end of democracy? And you know what the pundits say?
Oh!
Yep.
I'm going to reiterate that convoluted stream because it was kind of confusing. New York Times. An anonymous source tells us X. CNN. The New York Times is reporting that X happened. Slate, or whoever, just some left-wing rag. X happened. See, it's gone from This anonymous source tells us X happened all the way to it just happened. It happened, definitely. Then the opinion pieces everywhere. X happened, and here's why it's the end of democracy. X happened, and here's why you should panic. Jump back to CNN. Hey, we're covering this opinion piece that says X happened and this is why you should panic. Should people panic?
Oh!
Yep. All right, that brings us to number 2. They didn't present balanced coverage. How do I know? Because I watch CNN every day. I watch MSNBC every day. I read articles from the New York Times and Washington Post every day. I will not be in an echo chamber, ever. All right? I read all the sources. I take in information that I may not like. But I'm good at this, so I know what is real and what is
Ridiculous bullshit.
Okay, much of the lie that they told was in the lack of balance. On CNN or MSNBC, they bring on 5 pundits, but all those pundits agree with each other. The anchor says, well, do you think the orange man is bad? And all 5 pundits, every single time.
Oh!
The New York Times and Washington Post won Pulitzers for some of their Trump-Russia stories. Maybe those have real facts in them. But that narrative did not pan out. Where are all their stories that display skepticism of the dossier? Or the FISA warrants? Or what happened at the FBI? Or who paid for the dossier? Or Peter Strzok? Or Lisa Page? Where are all the stories that are skeptical of those things? No, there aren't very many. The stories are skeptical of President Trump and the President Trump administration. They are not skeptical of literally anything surrounding anything else except Trump. They should be skeptical of everything if they're going to be good journalists. That's not balanced coverage. That's why people who got all their information from mainstream media sources were blindsided by the Mueller report. They didn't know any of the stuff that Chuck Ross had been reporting at the Daily Caller. They didn't listen to Dan Bongino's commentary on it every day. They don't read The Federalist or Town Hall or watch Fox News, so they don't know any of the other side. It's just exactly like if you... I love Rush Limbaugh, but if you got all of your news from Rush Limbaugh, sometimes things would just blindside the hell out of you. But Rush Limbaugh is a guy who does an entertainment opinion radio show, so that's how it's supposed to be. I'm doing conservative commentary right now. Don't get all your information from this show. I think that the commentary and the analysis on this show is awesome. And I work really hard to make it really good. It takes me half a day to do one episode. But it's just one part of a balanced breakfast. Okay, CNN should not be like the Rush Limbaugh show. Okay, they should give you an entire balanced breakfast, but they don't. You cannot survive on the nutrition that they provide. They claim to be super healthy McDiet burgers. They are actually Big Macs. They're the exact same thing that Sean Hannity is, except for Sean Hannity isn't pretending to be something else. Sean Hannity says, hey, I'm a Big Mac, come and get it if you want it. The mainstream media is saying, hey, we're a super McHealthy diet burger, come and get it. 90 calories. Caveat emptor, my friend. All right, number 3, they did not present objective coverage. When they do have someone on with a different viewpoint, usually everybody agrees and they just sit there and nod along with each other on the split screen. They're like the Brady Bunch of anti-Trumpism. I can't remember if I made that up or if Dan Bongino made that up. I might have just stolen his joke, but it's a great joke anyway. And it's perfectly descriptive of what goes on those idiotic CNN split screens. When they do have someone on with a different viewpoint, that person is treated with the maximum amount of skepticism, which is fine. They should be. That's how you're supposed to treat people if you're the news, with the maximum amount of skepticism. The problem is that people with the mainstream viewpoint are treated with absolutely zero skepticism. So the way it works, they have Kellyanne Conway on, and she says something, and they're firing follow-up questions from a grenade launcher at her. They have a mainstream Democratic End of the World Doomsdayer pundit on, he says something, and instead of firing their grenade launcher full of follow-up questions, they're going, wow, that should concern us all. You've given us a lot to think about today. All right, that's all I got for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you subscribe to the show on iTunes or iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. If you could leave a review on iTunes, that would be fantastic. I'd really appreciate it. That's it for today. I'm out of here.
My best friend's sister's boyfriend's brother's girlfriend heard from this guy who knows this kid is going with the girl who saw Ferris pass out at 31 Flavors last night.
You just listened to Politics for Patriots with Eddie Zipper. Email the show at patriots@eddiezipper.com and please subscribe.